Well, welcome everyone. This is Healthy for Life monthly session number 3. And I am so excited about the topic that we have today. So I'm really hoping that you enjoy it as well. And I am glad that all of you who are here in person are able to make it today. I hope everything is going really well for you. And so today we're going to talk about healthy at every size, which is a very interesting topic. All right, so we're going to talk about healthy at every health at every size today. And this is a picture from actually a French website, but I really appreciated this picture because it includes men and women and someone who is using a wheelchair and kind of a more diverse group of individuals. So that's why I chose this picture as the introductory picture for this topic. So as usual, before we go too much further, I want to give you the opportunity and the time to reflect on how you've done in the last month and to do your weight chart if that is something that you are still keeping track of. I'm watching the chat box, so if there's any questions that you have or experiences that you want to share, of course, you know that that really contributes to the presentation, and I would invite you just to ask those questions as we go along or share things as we go along. Any feedback from anyone how it's going this last month? It's interesting as we go through the monthly sessions and we switch from weekly to monthly. It seems like life gets more and more in the way, if you want to think of it that way. So I'm really glad that all of you who are here in person and those of you who are going to watch this recording later are still with the program. And I want to congratulate you for that because it's hard work. And even just showing up can really keep you in the right mindset as you make your choices from day to day. So I'm glad that you're here. And Teresa said, when it got cold, I didn't want to walk, but then I could hear you saying, you know, they make things like coats and etc. for walking in the cold. So I've been going, yay, huzzah, Teresa. That's awesome. Yeah, I always say that it's not that the weather is bad, it's that you're not dressed appropriately. And most every single day we can get outside and do even a little bit. And Dana said, I did not do a food log all month. Yep. Not super surprising. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that, not doing a food log all month. So even if you just pull your food log out now and make a note about that and how that went because of that change that you meant, and just, you know, take a second to think about if that's appropriate for you or if you have different goals or if that's something that is getting you towards where you want to go. So this is an awesome time, in my opinion, and you're going to have to give me feedback on this. This is an awesome time, in my opinion, to talk about the concept of health at every size and how it fits into what we're doing with the Healthy for Life program. It's an awesome time, like we were just talking about with Dana, and thank you for including that comment because that is just such a great segue to the next question that I want to ask all of you to think about, is to go back to your why. Why do you want to lose weight? And think about what that reason truly is. Because there's a difference between losing weight to get skinny or fit a certain image or fit in with what you feel like society wants you to look like, and losing weight to improve your health. And in Healthy for Life, what we're really about is losing weight to improve your health, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get to an ideal image or what society takes pictures of and puts up for you to see all the time. It's a really great time for you to reconnect with why you are doing it. Why is it important to you? Maybe even looking back to that first week where I asked you that question and I said, why is it that you are here? Why are you making these goals? What is your why? It's also a good time for you to think about what is your best body size. No matter what your size, few of us are at peace with our bodies. And a lot of you know me, you've met me in person. You know, it's like, well, what does Kim possibly know about losing weight and helping me with that? You know, because we have a tendency to make judgments about people based on how they look. You are all very familiar with that. It really goes both ways. But when you think about it and you talk to people, very few of us, no matter how we look on the outside, are at peace with our body the way that it is. It seems like everyone that I talk to, including myself, there are things that I wish that I could change, that I wish that would be different. And some of those things have to do with body weight. Those things have to do with, getting older. Some of them have to do with the color of your hair or the color of your skin. Maybe there's something that you want to change, but very few of us realistically are at peace with our bodies. And sometimes maybe we're feeling better, sometimes maybe worse. But it's important for that to come up because as much as possible, when I work with people or when I give presentations or when I'm teaching a group fitness class or when I'm just talking to my friends or my family, what I really want is for people to recognize that they are enough in the moment, right? And to be able to find that peace if possible, knowing in my own life that it's hard to do. So that's kind of where the the health at every size concept and study came from. So it's based on the premise, health at every size is based on the premise that the best way to improve your health, now it's an important distinction. We're switching focuses from just losing weight to improving your health, right? So the premise of health at every size is that the best way to improve your health is to honor your body. It's another way to enforce the idea of lifestyle change, adopting healthy habits for the sake of health and well-being rather than for weight control. And there's an interesting concept to think about there is when you're looking at improvements in health, when you look at the studies and you see people getting improvements in health, so often we see the studies and they're focused on the weight change, right? But what they don't focus on so much that may have just as much, if not more of an impact on your overall health is making the lifestyle changes, right? Choosing better foods from day to day, being active, socializing with people and with groups of people that build you up and empower you and help you to grow into the best you. Sometimes those changes are the things that lead to the improvement in health, the decrease in blood pressure, the decrease in chronic diseases, the decrease in mental like depression and anxiety disorders, all of those kinds of things. So often we see the studies saying, oh, it's weight management that does it. It's the weight loss that does it. But they lose track of the fact that people are making positive improvements to their lifestyle behaviors, their day-to-day behaviors, that probably is making more of a difference than just the weight loss itself. So I included some links on there about health at every size. I feel about the health at every size movement that it can go to a place maybe that isn't healthy for people. So it's important to know that there is a balance there and there's a personal choice that happens there with health at every size. And that's what I would preface this for. Now, that being said, I've included the links for Health at Every Size because it's kind of its own, it's its own movement, and it has its own ideas and ideals. And I want to make it clear that what I'm talking about today isn't necessarily a promotion of the Health at Every Size movement. It is incorporating the idea of health at every size within what we're doing, and our lifestyle changes and what we're going towards with this group with Healthy for Life, as a whole. So with that being said, I have included some links on there so that you can check out Health at Every Size and the movement and see if that's something that you like or that you might, like to investigate some more. So Health at Every Size has done some studies. The results of the studies are that it can successfully teach how to disentangle self-worth from weight, which is important to separate those as much as you can, right? It may successfully teach how to let go of restrictive eating. Weight in the study didn't change, but all participants, that's 100% of people who participated in Health at Every Size, reported improved self-esteem, and some, not all of them, showed decreased cholesterol. There are 3 core goals with the Health at Every Size movement, and that is respect for you, for people around you, critical awareness of the environment that you're in, and compassionate self-care, right? Which is what we're going for, to give ourselves grace, to be compassionate with ourselves like we try to do with other people. So finding peace with your body, doesn't that sound amazing? That sounds amazing to me, to be able to find peace with your body and with where you're at. And it's a lot easier to say than it is to do, isn't it? And it might not be just weight management. There might be physical barriers that you've come up to. I always tell you guys, like, I had issues with vestibular problems. I still do have issues with vestibular problems. And it was super duper frustrating because I felt like my body was betraying me. And I know that that is the same way because I've heard from you all, and I've heard from other people that I've worked with, that that's kind of what it feels like with weight management, right? When you're going through this kind of health improvement process, it almost feels like your body is betraying you. And it can get you into a headspace that's not healthy because your body is you, right? But it does not define you. So again, coming back to that idea of disentangling self-worth from body size. And is that ever going to happen completely? Depends on the person, right? You probably are still going to revert back to that, but as much as you can, disentangling that, this is my self-worth and this is my body size. They're not the same thing. Accepting and respecting our natural diversity in body size. It's so hard in our current culture because it's really embedded within the culture that there's this judgment that's made about people based on how they look. And a lot of that is human nature. And you're not going to be able to get away from the fact that your brain wants to make a judgment, right? We've talked about this. This is a shortcut that your brain takes, right? To make it so you don't have to notice every single thing to try and make your life easier. But there's a difference between making the judgment and then what you do with it. So having that, trying to have that respect for the natural diversity in body size, that is human nature. It is how people are created. Some people look this way, some people look this way, and that's the beauty of it. It's the yin and the yang, and the how we all build each other up. So eating in a flexible manner, this is another way to find peace with your body, is eating in a flexible manner that values pleasure and internal cues, right? We've talked about this before, like listening to your body and respecting your body. Your brain is part of your body. You got to keep that in mind. Your brain is part of your body. So sometimes your brain can help your body to interpret cues, and to make good decisions as well. Finding joy in moving your body and becoming physically vital. And I'm going to talk to you more about kind of each of these things throughout this presentation. So that's kind of 3 or 4 key components of finding peace with your body, which I think I can speak for you in saying that that's someplace you'd like to be. And I found this was awesome. This is from the 2011 Love Your Body campaign. It says, to wish you were someone else is to waste the person you are. And that's not something that I would wish from any of you, because the person you are is amazing. And so wishing that you are someone else is to waste the person that you are. There's also another quote that I really like, that which kind of is the same idea, but it has a more positive spin, where you could say, in order to be your best, you have to be something that no one else can be. And that is yourself. Right? Nobody else can be you. Nobody else can be you. And to be amazing, you have to do something nobody else can do. And that is be yourself. This lady is fabulous. She kind of has gone on a journey that a lot of you have gone on. And I didn't take the time to go and look and see where she's at. But this lady's name is Pat Ballard, and she has 10 steps for loving your body, which I thought were fabulous. And so I wanted to share them with you all. And this is awesome. She's got a lot of stops and nevers, but she always has but she also has a lot of always, right? Things to do. Never stand in front of a mirror and think negative thoughts about yourself. Never stand anywhere and think negative thoughts about yourself. And I'm going to revisit this several times during this presentation, is that idea of positive self-talk, right? So key to finding peace with your body and peace with who you are. Search carefully for your good points, and when you found them, nourish them and build on them and cause them to grow daily. I love that. Search carefully for your good points, and when you found them, nourish them, build on them, cause them to grow daily. Close your mind to negative words, thoughts, or actions that someone might send your way. Don't allow negative thoughts into your subconscious. I talk about this as don't allow people real estate in your brain rent-free, right? Always conduct yourself in an honorable fashion, and don't allow your mouth to appear larger than your body. Always do your best to look like you care about yourself, as no one respects a slob, no matter what size that slob might be. Learn what your best colors are, what your best hairstyle is, what your best clothes style is, and never leave your house without being dressed accordingly. Okay, never may be a stretch, right? We all have those days where we need to go out, and it just is what it is. And that's okay. That's okay. I wouldn't put never there. I'd say most of the time. Except the days where you're really tired and you just have to go the way that it is. Always, without fail, smile and simply say thank you when you receive a compliment. Never think or say the compliment isn't true. Stop apologizing about your size. Expect everyone to accept you, respect you, and be happy with you just the way that you are. But most of all, you have to love yourself. You have to come to a place of peace with yourself that you can maintain most of the time, right? When you love yourself, others will love you and respond to you in the exact manner that you feel about yourself. And I see a comment in the chat box. Let me see if I can read it for you. Jessica says, I feel like healthcare professionals should incorporate some of this health at every size mentality. Yep, Jessica, I have a note about this a little later in the presentation too. My labs, i.e. cholesterol, blood pressure, etc., are always great, and I'm very physically active, but I'm overweight. And so when I have my health issues, I feel like the mantra lose weight gets shoved down my throat, when in reality, it could be and is likely other things as well. It's so true. It is so true, Jessica. It is, there's a lot of room for growth in our healthcare system for treating people equitably despite what they look like. And this one says, I read a long poem one day, I think it's called I Love Me, and the fellow who wrote it had horrible self-esteem issues, so he made a pledge to look in the mirror every day and say, I love you 10 times until you start believing it. This has always stuck in my head. Yep, I love that too. And I always say, fake it, you know, the fake it till you make it kind of thing. The spin on that I like is fake it till you become it, right? And it's not even necessarily being fake. It's that positive self-talk. That's so important. I love that, you guys. That's wonderful. Okay, so hopefully Pat's 10 steps to loving your body were helpful for you. Your body does not define you. It does not. What if you stayed at the weight that you are at right now? Knee-jerk reaction is, oh no, right? Little panic attack right there. But think about it. Think about how far you have come to be where you are right now and to make the positive choices that you have made to be where you are right now. There's another quote about validating your experience, right? Your whole experience, your whole life have brought you to the place that you are right now, and you have made so many positive choices to be here right now. If you stayed where you are right now, that's a good thing, right? I mean, you could have kept gaining weight if that was the path, if that was a trajectory that you were on. You could have kept gaining weight, but you didn't, right? Maybe you even lost some weight. Being where you are right now maybe is a good thing. Headstone moment. So if you think about headstones where you put on people's graves, right? Think about what you would like for people to say about you or put on your headstone. What defines you? How would you write the story of your life? What is important to you? What do you do? What's your occupation? What things are you passionate about? How do you spend your time? Who do you love? Right? Think about what you'd like to have on your headstone. And does that have anything to do with your weight? Interesting question. It does not define you. So you remember how to eat. Yeah. Vacations, special events, dinners out, dinners in, foods that are in season. How do you eat on average? So often we focus, kind of like the news, right? It's so much focus on the negative thing or the thing that happened that's, newsworthy, or what. So often we focus on those things rather than what we do on average. And what we do on average makes 70% more of a difference. When you eat, do you eat to a place that you're full or to a place that you're overfull? Are you really listening to the cues of your body and slowing down a little bit, being mindful with it? When was the last time you were actually hungry? Now for you, it might have been fairly recently, and you probably think of it right in your head just now, right? Is it a bad thing to feel hungry? You have to answer that question. Is it a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing to be hungry. It's a total normal physiological response. We like to avoid it though because it's uncomfortable, isn't it? It's not comfortable to feel hungry, just like it's not comfortable to feel depressed. It's not comfortable to feel angry. It's an uncomfortable feeling. So we have a tendency to try and avoid it, but it's not a bad thing. And it's okay to be hungry. In fact, it's probably a good thing, because then when you do eat, you really can value food, right? You really can eat for pleasure no matter what you're eating if you approach it from a place of hunger. When you're mindful, you take the time, you savor the textures, you try new things, you create attractive meals, you take some time to put together your meal so it looks really good, right? You can take the time to appreciate where the food came from. There's that local food idea, right? Where does the food come from? Valuing nutrient-rich food. If you can get your eggs from a neighbor, if you eat eggs, if you get your eggs or your meat or your produce from a neighbor, from a farmer down the road, you can appreciate that a lot more, right? And it appreciates you a lot more. It gives a lot back. And when you're mindful with your eating and your meal preparation, then you can really appreciate those things, which is really cool. Yeah. Teresa, about the feeling hungry, it's not bad to feel hungry, but if you wait until your stomach is growling, it's easy to overeat. Yep. It's so true. Yeah. Finding a balance and knowing yourself when it comes to hunger is very important. And that's a good point, Teresa. So joy in moving. So Health at Every Size did a whole sequence of pictures, kind of similar in my mind. This is kind of similar to what they did for the breastfeeding, where they took pictures of real people and then they put a message underneath, right, to try and normalize breastfeeding or to try and normalize people who have different body shapes, right? So I picked out one that I appreciated, and she says, I stand for movement being fun, no matter your weight, age, or personal history. Absolutely. And I'm absolutely on board with her in this movement. And what I wish for all of you is that you can find the joy in moving however you are able to move. I know that there are people on this call that have different levels of movement potential in their body, right? And where you are right now isn't necessarily where you're going to be down the road. And finding that joy in the movement that you can do, whether it's going to a baseball game, going to a class, walking with a friend, walking with the dog, swimming, skiing, like this lady is showing. Joy in moving. So the question is, and this is what I talked about earlier, is it weight loss that makes the health improvements, right? That makes you a healthier person? Is it weight loss itself that does it? Or is it the behavior change? Is it those choices that you're making that are different than the choices that you may have made before in your life that makes those positive health outcomes? Movement is absolutely right there saying it is the choice you make. It is not whether or not you lose weight. Is the lifestyle choices that you make most of the time that leads to those health improvements. Our bodies are designed to move. We are not designed to sit in one place, are we? No, we're designed to move around, right? Jump for joy. Where does that come from, right? Because there's joy in movement. Whether it's jumping or any other kind of movement, there's joy in feeling what your body can do, right? Feeling and understanding how great your body is. The endorphins that can come from it. Now, endorphins are a variable thing, and some people feel them more and produce them more than other people. But endorphins are something, feel good hormone, neurotransmitter in your brain, right? So good. Pleasure in the movement of air across your skin. Have you ever thought about that when you're walking, when you're riding a bike? Have you ever thought about how it's different as versus me just sitting here in my office, right? Or going and walking outside and you feel that air across your skin. There's pleasure in that feeling. I mean, as long as the wind's not howling, which it has a tendency to do in Montana. But even then, it's kind of like you're flying, right? So enjoyment of feeling your muscles flex and contract. I mean, okay, so here's a silly thing. If you're sitting and you want to feel what I'm talking about, I want you to squeeze your butt right there where you're sitting on, and then let it go. Does that feel kind of good? Do it again. Hopefully, if nothing else, that made you smile a little bit. But there's pleasure to that. There's pleasure to the contract and flex of the muscles, even if it's just, a little in your seat where you're at doing whatever, there's pleasure in that. There's joy in moving. Janice put a note in there. Oh, this is really powerful. I was reflecting on my first response to hunger, and for me, it's scary, which I think may have come from old traumas. What a great opportunity for physical and mental healing. Yeah. And a lot of what we're doing is not just physical healing, it's mental healing too. Yeah. Remember, it's all one thing. This is all you. There's this whole internal garden that you have that goes with your external that is far bigger than what you can see. It's kind of like the iceberg, right? Or the ocean. You can see the top of the ocean, that's what you look like, but think about everything else that happens underneath, things that we don't even understand or have never seen. So yeah, physical and mental healing. Becoming physically vital. So if you look up the definition of vital, it's of or pertaining to life. Having remarkable energy, liveliness, or force of personality. That could be a description of my daughter, honestly. She's remarkable, marvelous, magnificent. Necessary to the existence, continuance, or well-being of something. That's interesting, isn't it? Physically vital, necessary to the existence, continuance, or well-being of something. How do you become physically vital? How do you think about that? Cassie said, I've tried to get my husband to help me incorporate more movement every day, and his only response is go to the gym, which for me is really counterproductive because there's no joy in the activity, only a feeling of being punished. Yep. So maybe your husband isn't the best person to help you with that. So if you, and Cassie, that's tough. And that's that unfortunate as it is to say, you are not alone in feeling that way and being in that position. And I'm sorry that that is his response. And it has a tendency to be the response, not necessarily of men, but of people that don't truly understand or who've never invested in the type of journey that we're on. And he is who he is, right? And it's okay for us to recognize the fact, and for you to recognize the fact that maybe he's not the best person to support you in being more physically active, in finding the joy in movement. So what maybe you could think about is there a person or people in your life that perhaps could be beneficial to you in finding that physical vitality and that joy in moving? And I really hope there is. I love the gym, honestly, but it's really about finding the right space in the gym, if that's someplace that you want to go to. But a lot of people that I know, they don't like the gym. They don't want to go to the gym. They have different support groups and different mechanisms for finding that physical vitality, and that's okay too. So hopefully you can think of a person that you might be able to reach out to who can be your support there. And then if your husband really does need to support you more, then look back at the presentation that we had about talking to your support system. I think it was like section 6 or 7, weekly session 6 or 7. And then maybe you can come up with a way to tell him what you need from him. Thank you for that feedback. That was really good. And that's really good for the other people to hear, because truly not alone in feeling that way. See, me too, Cassie. My husband plays video games and doesn't like to go outside. Yeah, and not alone in feeling that way. So hopefully that was helpful for you all. So here's some ideas for you. One of many, right? Spend time with people who empower and grow you. It's what we were just talking about. Think about your support system. Maybe it's not a spouse. Maybe it's somebody else, right? There are people there. And just think about it this way. If you feel a little like reticent about, I don't really want to ask for help. I don't really want to ask those people for that. Think about how you feel when someone asks you for help. Is your response typically, oh, that's such a bother and I don't want to do that? I mean, think about if somebody reached out to you and said, hey, will you help me with this? Usually the response is, yeah, I'd be glad to help you. I love to share my expertise with you. I love to share my time with you, you know? So think about that. If you're feeling a little, I don't know if I should ask for that. People, by and far, most of us love to help. So hopefully there's somebody out there you can think of. Spend time with people who empower you and who grow you. Begin a journal of positives. Journaling can be really powerful if this is way that you think. And I know that I've shared this with you before, but even if I have this notepad on my desk that I write down the things I need to do in a day, especially if they're things that I've been putting off and I haven't really been excited about doing. There's something magic for me in just writing it down. Just writing it down, there's something magic in it. And having a journal of positives can be like that, especially if you're a person who struggles with being at peace with yourself. If you think back to what Pat Ballard said about finding those things that are important to you and that you're good at and that are your strengths, and then nourishing those things, right? So that journal of positives can help you to do that. That's a very tangible way to help yourself do that. Listen to music that fulfills you. Music plays such a difference in how you feel. It really, 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 really does. If you don't believe me, go and try a group fitness class and see what kind of music they play. Typically in yoga, we are playing like calm, relaxing music, right? Because that inspires the feeling that we're trying to inspire in people. As versus if you go to a cardio class, usually they're playing really upbeat, they're playing quick tempo music, that kind of gets you going. So listen to music that fulfills you, and maybe that's different from day to day, and it's okay. We've got lots of different music to listen to. Think in terms of choice. This is my choice. There's always a choice, right? Yeah, we talked about this before, so you know what I'm talking about. Discard ideas that make you feel bad about yourself. Pat Ballard said that too. Think about challenges. Think carefully about challenges. And some of those are just opportunities in work clothes. Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes too. Challenges are opportunities in work clothes. Embrace people, places, reading material, music that reinforces your self-worth. Where you focus your mind, there you will be. Change your environment if you need to. One of the things, and I'm going to drop, this is a truth bomb, and this is not a comfortable one. And there's a reason I don't say this until later on, after we've had a chance to live through this. But sometimes in order for us to be able to achieve our goals, it's not just small changes of our environment that are necessary. Sometimes there's big changes that are necessary. And I always think about, and by no means do I want you to think that relationships are the only place that this can happen, but I always think about a story of a lady who told me, if you had told me what was necessary to achieve my goals when I first tried to do it, I would never have gotten to where I am today. But she went through a whole weight loss process that involved moving across the country and involved a divorce from her husband at the time. It involved a different job. Just this though is the truth bomb, and this is the thing to think about, is sometimes those big changes are what is necessary for us to realize our full potential. And I'm not saying you can't make small changes, and I'm not saying that relationships are the thing that need to change in order for you to be able to achieve what you want to, but sometimes they are. And that's important for you to think about. So I'm going to back up from that. I know. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me to even tell you that story, but I feel like it's a truth that's important to hear sometimes, so that you can really think about it. Your environment. Remember the power of social connections. So think about when you look at aging, and what leads people to, like, have you ever heard of blue zones? Those are places on the planet where there's a lot of people who have lived to be 100 years old or older, right? They call them blue zones. And by far, what those people say and what the research shows about people who've lived to be that old are that they have powerful social connections. They are not alone. They are in relationship, not just in the world that they live in, but they are in relationship with the people around them. They have learned how to foster good relationships. So think about the power of your social connections and what that gives back to you as far as what your goals are, right? I've said it a couple of times already in this presentation where it's like, you've got to be around people that build you up and that grow you, right? People who have your best interests at heart. The power of those social connections can help you achieve goals and they can help you live healthier. The people that you visit every day have a huge impact on your ability to accept yourself and ultimately to do what you want to do. So think about your workspace, your home space. Think about the people that are in them. And do you need to do some outreach, right? Do you need to do some self-promoting? Do you need to go out on a limb and invite somebody to walk with you? Or reopen a connection with somebody who's good for you, whose company that you really enjoy, right? Just invite them to go and do something. Invite them to go and have a walk or do an event or get on a video chat. Even just starting that can be as simple as just sending a text. Hey, I was just thinking about you today. We should get together soon. You know, accept responsibility where it is due. Own your life. There's another uncomfortable one too. Own your life. You always have a choice. Think in terms of choice. Some choices are easier, some choices are harder, but you always have that choice and you need to own your life and your decisions. You choose how you respond. It is one of the only things that we have control over in this life, right? Your response. Yeah, you choose your mental attitude, you choose your environment to a certain extent, right? Sometimes we need to accept our environment for where it is and learn how to work within the limitations of our environment so that we can become who we want to be. I love this quote. This is really good. When you improve a little each day, eventually big things occur. Seek the small improvements one day at a time. That's the only way it happens. And when it happens, it lasts. So if I got too big for you, which I very well could have, right? Narrow it down to that. When you improve a little each day, eventually big things occur. And when it happens, it lasts. Love it. So awesome. Live it to learn it. That's what we're talking about. That's what I tried and alluded to at the beginning, right? To a certain extent, you have to go through the process to truly understand. And can you understand where you're going to be a year from now, right now? No. So that's where finding the peace with where you are right now, but still having the balance with wanting to improve yourself, whether it's your health, your quality of thought, your environment, whatever the case might be, that desire to improve yourself can coexist with having peace with where you are. It's tough. It's a balance. It's something you got to work on, but it is possible and it is necessary, I feel like. The only true way to change your lifestyle is to stop thinking about it like a diet. When can I stop doing X? Do you ever catch yourself thinking things like, I fell off the wagon, I've got to get back on track with this, or I'm not sticking to my diet? Right? Shame is not a good motivator for change. Positive self-talk, right? Positive self-talk. It was my choice to take a break from this, and it felt good to do it, but maybe now I'm in a place where I can pick something back up, right? That feels better, doesn't it? It feels empowering. Validate your lived experience. Okay, this is really a yoga-ish in my head. This is a yoga-ish way to express. but it doesn't make it less true. It really resonated when I heard it, is that when you are on a health improvement journey, a self-improvement journey, when you're the kind of person that just wants to do better, it's important for you to validate your lived experience, because it's what has gotten you where you are today. You have unique challenges, you have unique strengths that nobody else has because of the experiences that you have had. And it's important for you to recognize that, because you have and you do. So as much as you can validate it, it's a good thing to be where you are. Real life. It's about the average of your choices over time, not about a single incident, meal, or vacation. You are likely paying close attention, putting in extra time and effort right now because you're actively trying to lose weight. Weight naturally fluctuates up and down. You're noticing more because you're paying such close attention. It's okay. It's okay for it to go up and to go down. It's a really natural thing, especially if your body is getting close to a place where it's happy and it feels healthy, right? That's not to say that you can't continue down your weight loss journey. It's just to say that you're paying such close attention that sometimes small things in the great scheme of things can get overblown. So try and take a step back sometimes when that happens and you feel like you're just getting bogged down in the daily day-to-day grind. Step back and try and see the bigger picture. See the forest, not the trees, right? You can't see the forest for the trees. Have you ever heard that quote? Like, you're focusing so hard on each individual thing, you can't see the overall picture. So let's try and step back and see the overall big picture. What does a diet look like in real life? When does the weight loss phase stop? Ooh, that's an uncomfortable question, isn't it? So this is at this point, it's a little bit of an older song, but it's kind of a self-empowerment song, if you will. If such a thing can come from pop music, I definitely feel like this is that song. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's called Firework by Katy Perry. I feel like it's more powerful when it's read as versus when she sings it, just because of the background, like if you think about it as a poem rather than a song. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards, one blow from caving in? There's a spark in you. You don't have to feel like a waste of space. You're original, cannot be replaced. If you only knew what the future holds, after a hurricane comes a rainbow. You got to ignite your light and let it shine. Own the night like the 4th of July. You're like a firework. Show them what you're worth. Make them go, oh, as you shoot across the sky, right? Like a lightning bolt, your heart will glow. And when it's time, you'll know, right? Maybe the reason why all the doors are closed is so you could open the one that leads you to the perfect road. And I know I didn't do it in order, and it's a little different than that song, but oh my gosh, it's powerful. Those are powerful. Like, if you're in that place, that's something you can read or hear, and it just almost brings you to tears, doesn't it? Because it's so important to hear, and it can get so close. So here's some more ideas for you. Think about the way you feel and then manage it, right? You have control over how you respond. You truly do, but it's a skill. You have to practice. You're not perfect. Don't just think I'm stressed or I feel sad. Do something about it. What can I do right now to get me closer to my goals? What can I do right now to help manage this feeling? Learn your body's language and give it time to speak. Pay attention to hunger cues, right? You should always check in first before you eat, during your eating, right? Check in. Manage your weight by using the tools that you have when you need them. Use the food log when you need it. Track your calories when you need to do that. Stop when you don't need to do it. manage your experience, right? Be conscious, be present with your experience. This is really interesting. And this goes back to the comment that we had earlier today about managing your healthcare, like when it comes to talking to a doctor or to a health coach or a physical therapist or any of those people that might come into your life. This is a lady that's associated with the Health at Every Size. And the quote that I heard from her, and this is powerful. The quote that I heard from her is, "We prescribe for fat people," and again, these are her words, "we prescribe for fat people what we diagnose as an eating disorder in thin people." True. Talking to the doctor. Now, here again, this is not a comfortable place for a lot of you, because a lot of you, as we already discussed, are caretakers, you are conflict avoiders, right? All of those things are okay and they have strengths, but they also have weaknesses and things can be improved. So think about your experience with your doctor, and the next time you're there, and I'm not saying to say this in a combative way, think about how you can say it nicely to open a dialogue with the person. But if you've had that experience with your provider, or if you're feeling frustrated with your healthcare, how can you ask your provider, what would you do for me if my BMI was normal? Because I hear lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. If my BMI was normal, what would you do for me? What else is there, right? Because asking that question of a provider, you know, it's not going to work with every provider, and maybe they aren't the right provider for you. Maybe you need to go to a provider that you can have that conversation with, who maybe isn't already really aware of the kind of intrinsic bias a lot of us that we have to people based on their body size. But maybe somebody who's open to that conversation, where if you ask that question, they're going to think about it. And they're going to say, yeah, that's a good point. What else can I do? Right? So this I also felt was powerful. It's a very tangible thing that you can use in your healthcare provider and advocating for yourself. So think about that. There's also a couple of blogs here. Now, I'm more familiar with the Runs for Cookies blog, and I think I put this as a resource on an earlier presentation that I did for you folks. Runs for Cookies, this lady named Katie has lost a lot of weight, and she blogs about her experience with that and the struggles that she's gone through, and she kind of has disordered eating that she struggles with as well, and I really enjoy her blog a lot. But as I was researching this presentation, I also came across this other blog called Dances with Fat. Again, her name, not mine. But it's about a dancer who is in a body that doesn't fit what we think of as a dancer, right? If we were to picture a dancer. So it's her blog, and she talks about it, and it's really powerful stuff about kind of health at every size, being healthy even though you don't fit that ideal body image. Because that ideal body image in health, I mean, you can look at someone who the BMI would put in an overweight or obese category, and you could make a judgment about that person's health based on how they look. The same way as you could look at a person who is at a normal body weight, and you can make a judgment about their health based on how they look. Either place, that judgment is probably not going to be right. You have to know other things in order to make a judgment about people's health. It is one indicator amongst many. So keep that in mind, and maybe hopefully that will help you talk to your doctors and also give you a place to, read about people's real life experiences with this. All right, so challenge for you, and it's not super challenging. Is that a lie? I think it's a lie. Practice positive self-talk every day, especially if you catch yourself having negative self-talk. Practice it, but see if you can, for the next week or the next month if you can, but sometimes smaller is better, right? So for the next week, see if you can practice positive self-talk every day. How do you remember to do that? Maybe you make it a goal for the next week to write down one positive thing about yourself every day the next week. That is practicing self-talk every day. And if it's beneficial for you, maybe you continue that on, right? But that's your challenge if you choose to accept it. Think about your goals. Do what you've decided to do to meet your goals, right? It's as simple as that. Just do it. And if you're not doing it, there's probably a reason for that. So rethink those goals, rethink what it is that you want to do. Even if it means I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing to this point because it's getting me towards my goals, that's good, right? You're building lifestyle change. You're building in that different behavior, taking yourself out of one habit and putting it into the next. And that takes time. You have to live it, right? You have to do that in order for it to truly be incorporated and it to start to improve your health. If you need to use your support resources, then remember that they're there. I'm there. Internet stuff is there. I gave you some links here. If you want more information about this topic, let me know. I'm totally happy to look up research information. I know many of you, as we've gone through this, have reached out to me and said, hey, can you give me more information about XYZ? I love that. It's my favorite thing. Ask me for help. I'd like to give help. So remember those resources and all the other ones that are out there for you. What are we missing? Missing Calvin. So have to have Calvin. All right. Okay. What's Calvin doing? Oh my goodness gracious. He is being herded from place to place like a cow. He's having stuff forced into his brain that he may or may not like. He's running on that hamster wheel and going nowhere. He's working on the chain gang. He feels like a robot, feels like a parrot repeating back what's said to him. He feels like a zombie. Maybe he's tired. He feels like a square peg getting pounded into a round hole, a fish out of water. How much of what we talked about today does that fit, right? Do you ever feel that kind of disconnect, like what you want to be versus what you are, where you're going as versus where you are? Kind of there's that disconnect, right? And this goes back to this last thing, the social connection. So important. Your environment is so important. Boy, am I glad to see you, Hobbs, Calvin says. And Hobbs says, another typical school day. So just remember the power of those social connections, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed, herded, fish out of water, any of those things, the power of those social connections can bring you right back on course. So I really hope that this information was beneficial for you today. I am so glad that you all made it and that you're here. I loved your feedback. Please let me know if you have any questions, and you are definitely most welcome. And I hope you enjoy your next month. If I don't talk to you, we will see you next month. Bye, everybody.